News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow.
Karen, the U.S. and Iran appear to be hardening their positions as the wait continues for a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump says he's demanding reparations from Iran over past attacks, along with compensation to families of protesters who've been killed over the years. The president says it's a response to Iran's own demands for compensation.
They asked for reparations, you might say, or they asked for money for the damage that we've done. And I said, that's a good idea. Well, we're going to ask for money for the damage they've done over a 50-year period.
President Trump spoke to reporters in the Oval Office. Bloomberg's Zabir Abu-Omar reports both sides making it tougher to come to an immediate agreement on the strait.
The hardliners over the weekend have asked for some maximalist demands. Those include the lifting of the U.S. naval blockade on the Strait of Hormuz, a compensation for the damages occurred by the war, and then you also have them asking for the lifting of oil sanctions, the blocked assets. President Trump, in the latest remarks, has said that, well, if Iran is going to ask for that, the U.S. will also ask for compensation over the thousands killed over the past 50 years in Iran.
And Bloomberg's Zabir Abu-Omar reports President Trump also says Iran should be held responsible for deaths and damages from its proxy groups in Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, and Gaza.
Well, Nathan, reports are emerging of an extraordinary operation to protect President Trump from an Iranian assassination threat last month. The Washington Post says the president's older Air Force One jet was used as a decoy while he secretly flew from Turkey to the UK on a smaller military aircraft. Bloomberg's Chris Pitt has the details.
Trump had arrived at the NATO summit in Ankara aboard his new Qatari-gifted Air Force One. The plane was then sent to head to Britain for a transatlantic journey home, while Trump was filmed boarding the older Air Force One in Turkey. At the time, Trump denied the change was about security, saying it was simply to show the newer jet to US service members in the UK. The New York Times later reported that a credible Iranian threat had prompted the Secret Service to recommend a change of aircraft. But the Washington Post now says the security operation went much further with another secret switch. It says Trump was taken off the older Air Force One in an airport catering truck and transferred onto a smaller military plane. The legacy presidential plane then flew to Britain as a decoy, carrying journalists and some White House staff who believed the president was still aboard. In London, Chris Pitt, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, Chris, thank you. Trade friction may be emerging between the U.S. and China ahead of next month's summit in Washington between Presidents Trump and Xi Jinping. China has ordered steep anti-dumping deposits on pecan imports from the U.S. and Mexico. China says the nuts from both countries are being sold at unfairly low prices. So starting today, importers of U.S. pecans will be required to pay a deposit rate of more than 54%. Those buying from Mexico will pay less.
Well, Nathan, elections are in focus with special primaries in Alabama and South Carolina, plus congressional races in several more states. And Bloomberg's Amy Morris has details.
A Supreme Court ruling cleared the way for Alabama to use its 2023 legislature-drawn congressional map, but it was too late for 4 of those district races, so they were rescheduled for August 11th. In South Carolina, 10 Republicans are competing in a special primary election to replace the late Senator Lindsey Graham on the general election ballot. If no one wins the majority, the top 2 vote-getters will advance to a special runoff on August 25th. Regular primary elections are also going on in Connecticut, Minnesota, Vermont, and Wisconsin. In Washington, Amy Morris, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, Amy, thank you. Back in the nation's capital, President Trump has revived his effort to roll back the childhood vaccination schedule. He has issued an executive order recommending that the combined measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine be broken into 3 separate shots. The president's tying the issue to rising autism rates.
Well, we do not know exactly what the cause is with respect to autism. It is essential to our research efforts that we have the very best vaccine recommendations in the entire world. So we're reducing them. We're changing it to visits over a period of a year and a half.
Again, President Trump speaking from the Oval Office there. Scientific research has uncovered no link between vaccines and autism. The American Academy of Pediatrics says the president's order could lead to confusion and uncertainty for parents and raise the risk that kids miss or delay useful vaccinations.
Let's turn to the markets now, Nathan, where chip stocks are in focus this morning. Nvidia is sourcing $500 billion in new financing for AI infrastructure from Wall Street. 6 firms, Apollo Global Management, Blackstone, BlackRock, Brookfield Asset Management, Goldman Sachs, and KKR, are providing the capital. Bloomberg's senior executive editor for tech, Tom Giles, says it's a way to reassure skeptics concerned about circular financing.
The concern is that should demand not materialize as quickly as hoped, that could result in, something catastrophic for the industry. So the more companies you have, like Apollo and others, BlackRock, Blackstone, putting their necks on the line, the more that should give the market a bit of a sense of reassurance that they're all in this together. Nvidia's not alone.
Bloomberg's Tom Giles adds, although the headline number is large, there are few details on the timing and structure of the financing.
Well, Karen, Intel has raised $20 billion in an upsized share sale. That's a third more than the chipmaker was targeting when it announced the deal yesterday morning. Sources say the share sale drew more than $100 billion in demand. Intel is building its cash reserves with the goal of taking on a more central role in the AI boom.
Nathan, Bloomberg News has also learned Anthropic has struck a $9 billion deal with Riot Platforms. That's a Bitcoin mining company that recently began selling AI data center capacity. Shares of Riot Platforms, they're up about 18.5% in early trading.
And Karen, Apple still plans to offer a Glass-Centric overhaul of the iPhone for the device's 20th anniversary. Sources say the company expects to launch iPhone Pro models next year that will make use of the new glassy look with glass on the front and back of the phones and curving into the sides. The news counters an analyst report that the move had been canceled.
And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moscow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.